Welcome to the Elevating La Cultura podcast, a space where I talk with Latinas who are passionate about what they do and are willing to share that passion with others to change the narrative, especially for the next generation. Each season is centered around different topics, but all with a Latina perspective. Welcome to Season 10, where I'm talking with Latinas who have founded nonprofits. I'm so excited to share these powerful conversations. So vámonos, and let's get into it. Gisela is the founder of Latinos Homeschooling, a nonprofit organization dedicated to supporting Latino homeschooling families. Over the past 4 years, she has worked tirelessly to grow the organization, which she started in search for a Latino community group. Latino Homeschooling has successfully hosted 3 conferences and provided numerous classes and workshops for the community worldwide. Gisela has also been featured in various media outlets including WGN, Wired Magazine, and The Washington Post. Prior to founding the organization, she worked in the banking industry and the nonprofit sector. Gisela holds a BS in business from Indiana University and is a mother of 3. She lives with her family in Whiting, Indiana, and enjoys reading and taking walks with her son in her free time. Enjoy the episode. Hi, I am excited to be chatting with you today, and being able to talk with you is kind of special because we are both homeschoolers, and I just appreciate, well, we're both homeschool moms, and I just appreciate the work that you're doing in that space. But before we get all the way into it, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here as well. And my name is Gisela, and I am from Chicago, Illinois. Well, the region of Chicago, Illinois. I'm really from Whiting, Indiana, but I'm the founder of Latinos Homeschooling. It's a nonprofit organization which supports homeschooling families, especially Latinos. I founded the organization. Really, it was supposed to be a meetup for families in the Chicago area to connect and get together. However, it gained some national presence during the pandemic, and it grew to what it is right now, and basically supporting families all over the country and parts of Canada as well.
Wow, I didn't know that you had reached Canadian families.
Yeah, several. Yeah.
Do they connect with you online or through in-person meetups when they come and visit the States?
No in-person meetups yet. They during the pandemic we started a few meetups online, such as reading story hour and some STEM meetups and some mom meetups, and that's where they would connect to us, the homeschooling families from Canada. So yeah, it's not only Canada. There's families that are actually doing world schooling and road schooling in different parts of Europe and Asia as well. So there's Latinos everywhere that are embarking on this journey.
That's amazing. And I remember finding your group through on Facebook. This was like pre-pandemic, and I have loved to see the growth that you have had over the past few years since I've known about Latino homeschooling community and the work that you're doing. And I think I did tune in to a few of the reading Zoom meetings that you had during the pandemic. And it was just inspiring to see such a I don't know how to describe it, like an enthusiastic group of people and who are like all like-minded, all trying to figure it out, all trying to look for community in the homeschooling space. But what brought you to start this organization in the first place?
Well, I was never ever intended to do anything like this. I just really wanted a space for my kids to connect with other people that look like them. When I started homeschooling about 9 years ago, I pulled my daughter out of first grade. Well, I didn't pull her out. I waited until she finished first grade, and I right away, you as a parent that homeschools their children, you sometimes try to copy what's going on in school because you feel like you're missing out on a lot of things. So I was a person that right away wanted to connect with other homeschooling parents, wanted to see how they were doing, how they were actually educating their children. So that's why I started going to a lot of meetups right away, and as well, so my children wouldn't lose any friendships or anything like that, because they had their friends were still in school. So when I started going on these meetups, I wouldn't see a lot of people that look like us, unfortunately. And I just said I can't be the only Latina that's doing this. So I created a private Facebook group here in Chicago, and I started to really invite other Latinas that I saw in other Facebook groups online that were homeschooling. And I just kind of I asked them if they would want to meet up, or if if they would want to do something more for us, like to educate the children on our culture and everything. And we were meeting before the pandemic about 4 to 5 families consistently. Museums, a lot of the we did a lot of classes, like the ones that you saw online. We would do in person with reading, art projects, some STEM challenges, and those 4 or 5 families that we got together wanted to continue to meet. So that's when we started doing it virtually. Then we just decided to invite other people. But our first thing webinar was with 2 other moms. We did a how to homeschool webinar during the lockdown, because a lot of families wanted help. And that's where really the group started getting more community based. The Facebook group, it wasn't something that you about sharing resources. We actually were meeting, and we were meeting families that were living in like, let's say, Iowa, Wisconsin, where even though Wisconsin has a huge Latino population, Milwaukee does especially, there were still a lot of people that weren't homeschooling over there. And that this was a good way for parents to meet other people. I mean, just I was at Mexican Independence festivities this past weekend in Chicago, and I ran into one mom from Colorado that recognized me, that was visiting here. So it's kind of cool to see that, because she as well doesn't have a big community in Colorado. So this was a great way for her son also to get involved in some of the activities we're hosting.
It's amazing how things can grow so quickly and organically when there is a strong need for it in the community space, whatever that is. And I saw it in the homeschooling community specifically because when I started homeschooling, what was it? I think it was also about 10, 11 years ago. Like, I did not know any homeschooling families because I came from a traditional school, public school background. And like you said, that's all you know. And you don't know anything different. You just know, like, oh, well, I see such and such family, or I met this person at the library and they're homeschooling. Maybe I can do it too. But you're kind of just like navigating this new space. And it's interesting, when I started navigating the new space, it was predominantly white families. And I'm like, but I want to connect with people that would understand, like, if I want to learn more or teach my kids about Cinco de Mayo, like the traditional history, or if I want to speak Spanish, like I want to have that safe space in that community. And so, yeah, I connected with your group right away on Facebook when I was like searching for any group that could help me. And even when this was pre-pandemic, decided I was part of a cohort, and I decided to break away from that cohort to like build up a new branch that was closer to home. And it was more diverse. And I was like, we need like diverse families and like, let's learn from each other. And it was beautiful. It was like we were doing like living life together and learning from each other and the different cultures and allowing our kids to just be who they are without having to, I don't know, assimilate or ask questions about like, oh, why are they asking me about what food I'm bringing or XYZ, you know? And so I think whenever I meet a homeschooling parent or someone who wants to get into homeschooling and they are um, like Latino or a different culture other than the predominantly white culture that we see, like homeschool, like the image of homeschool is very I don't know, like you think of prairie style school system, prairie like school style. That at least that's what I was introduced to, like the the one school classroom or yeah. And I'm like, but let's do it differently. So whenever you do meet someone or whenever I do meet someone that wants to get into homeschooling, I'm like, I send them in your direction and say, like, there's this great group. Find them on Facebook, connect with them, and just learn about other people like us that are doing homeschooling and finding community for our kids to feel included and safe and um, yeah, encouraged in our journey because it's not just that community for kids, it's also that community for the parents as well. So, how have your lived experiences as a homeschool parent kind of influenced what you're growing with your organization?
Well, I've actually learned a lot from, I met parents from all over. I've been fortunate to meet parents from all over the country and, part of also Canada and different parts, even Spain, people that aren't Latino that are in the group that they're homeschooling too in Europe, but they're not Latino. Have reached out to me. So I've learned from other parents what they're doing, and it's nice to have, uh, you know, um, there is a lot of things like I follow a lot of pages on Instagram and to see what other parents are doing, and it looks so perfect that some mom has everything so organized and she's doing this with her child and showing. I've never had that kind of group account because I never ever wanted it to be about me and what I'm doing and what it's I want to kind of showcase what everybody's doing, and I'm actually learning from everybody else. uh, so my pains, it makes me feel good that I'm not the only one having them, whether it be that I feel that my child is behind, whether my child is going through some type of anxiety relating to homeschooling, because it's not always easy. They sometimes kids sometimes feel as they get older that they might be missing out on something that high school might be offering them. But then again, they part of them feels that I'm not really made for traditional school, and I really enjoy what I'm doing right now. But then a lot of my peers aren't. So it's just really talking those pains with other parents, like what are they doing, or it's it's not easy. Yeah, a lot of parents feel like they need to do it for several reasons. It's also difficult within the Latino community because a lot of us, we come from immigrant backgrounds. We might be one or two generations behind, even if we're not immigrants. Like my husband is Texan, Mexican. His parents never immigrated, but yet there is also some kind of class within Latinos because the way that my parents, the way that we were both raised is very similar. Even though his parents were born and raised here and always spoke English, it's very similar on the things that we weren't really exposed to or talked about with that our white families were. I can't really give examples, um, but Latinos. really pride themselves in the schools that they send their children to. They say, well, my kid goes to this school. Why are you home? Or there's, Chicago is unfortunately is very, very unfair in terms of resources, and most of the school districts are. So to be even here in the state of Indiana, you everything's so competitive because of vouchers, and people have to be flocking to certain schools. But then they're not all the same. It's just very unfair how the school system's doing, and for us to pride themselves and just to let our children just be educated with the school system. I've learned that right now. But then again, a lot of parents, Latino parents, feel that this is something we need to do because we're seeing basically how unfair the system can be to our children, and we know that we can do something better for them. We may not be the best, and like parents, we're imperfect too, but there's almost a guarantee that we're not going to damage our kids by doing this. They're not going to be socially awkward. I mean, you could be weird in the school. Whether you're in school, you're weird. Whether you're outside of school, if your kid's weird, if you're weird, you're weird. So I don't know. I'm going in a tangent, but it can be very isolating with Latinos, with the whole pride of your kids wanting to go with us sending our kids to a certain school. Again, there's another thing that a lot of the parents, especially the moms, we give up working, a lot of us, to do this. So there's also that. So yeah, this space is very encouraging. It helps parents with just to be able to count on somebody to talk to about your pains and what you're going through. And I try to, in October, we're going to start doing monthly workshops like we did before, so parents can talk about certain things. Homeschooling is evolving. Your child is evolving. It's not the same that it was 10 years ago. There's a lot more resources and a lot more ways that you can educate your child. There's a lot of micro schools that are popping up from educators or homeschool parents, where you can send your child maybe 2 or 3 days a week to be with other peers. So it's not it's going to continue to increase, and it's going to get better in terms of community and different areas of concentration that your child can take advantage of.
That's great. I think these are all important things for people who are thinking about homeschooling or are in the homeschooling trenches to be encouraged by, that there are resources and things are getting better. And it's because of people like us who are seeing the need and doing something about it and saying like, okay, well, we can just start as like a group of 4 families and let's just get together and see what that looks like. So what was your moment of saying like, okay, let's move beyond just meeting with these 4 families and like a Facebook group to starting and moving into the nonprofit space and growing that to the national level?
Oh, actually, I never thought about it. It was an encouragement from a friend that I met in this group. Her name is Rosa, and she actually she's a scientist. Her and her husband, she's they're really big into science and math. She already had an organization. It's called Bridges to Science in Houston, and she was doing more after school programs, such as make assuring that Latinos get into science, basically, that we in math, that we're embracing that really that's in our blood. And she was sending her children to school, but then she realized that when they got home, they were already preparing them for tests, like assessments. So she knew she didn't want her children just to be working on assessments and tests. So she wanted them to get something more out of their education. So she started homeschooling them, and she started this nonprofit in Houston. And one time, her and I connected on Zoom, and she helped me organize a virtual conference. Another mom in Dallas too encouraged me to do that. to offer more support and workshops to parents, because it was never been done. So Rosa encouraged me to get a grant to start out, just even to buy some equipment like a computer, or even to use that money to pay for a website, and just to fund whatever's going on in the group. And that's all I really did with it. But then during the pandemic, I was also doing this. I took a lot of Latino studies classes in college. So I was teaching to my children Latino studies, but I just thought it would be fun to invite other students to do it that are in the group. And I was doing that maybe once a month or every so often. I would advertise it. So, so then with that money, I started the organization basically just to do the group and support them. But then I got more funding. I requested more funding to start like Spanish fluency program, like a bilingual ed program for our children in heritage studies, the Latino studies classes as well. So I hired 3 teachers to do that, just like pilot classes, testing them out, offer more support to parents to in case their children want to learn their history, they want to be bilingual. Even though there's a ton of tutors out there, I felt that this could be a program that can, like, 2 educators can be in charge of it and understand what our Latino brains, how they work, and actually have a space for Latinos to learn and grow in their heritage language together. So the additional funding was for that. The idea came mainly from to start the organization from the classes that I was already hosting, the conference as well, to offer support to the parents in the workshops, and also to launch this program, which I want to continue to grow with the Spanish fluency, and really just go from there. So we're really kind of scaling back, going back and starting over as to where we're going to go going forward.
That's amazing. I want to go back and ask about the conference, because I know you just hosted one a few months ago um, here in Chicago. And so how do you go about hosting such a big event, and how was the uh, reception of it? Like, how did people like receive it? What were they excited to be able to be like in community? And um, yeah, I'd love to learn how that whole process went from like start to finish, and how did you feel about the whole thing?
Uh, I started. I We did 2 virtual ones, and I just felt that it was time for us to do something in person. I just started really from, you know, I had already some partnerships with some companies that offer curriculums. It was just basically pitching to a lot of people that I wanted to do this, and then really looking at the population of Latinos, which is going to continue to grow enormously. And the average age for a Latino, I believe, is about 12 years old. So we're really young in comparison to our white counterparts. Uh, and just letting them know that really we're going to be the future of this country. And they need to notice us, that it's not going to be all white evangelical as it was before. And there's a lot of Latino entrepreneurs that are starting to offer resources for Latino families. So really, I reached out to them. I reached out to really everybody. It was months. It was since last fall that I started, last October, until April. That was the planning. I really didn't feel that it was exhausting, I guess. My journey was up and down, whether people were interested or not. And My husband probably was probably one of the ones that wanted this to be over with already, because every day behind the scenes, I would say, are people coming, or am I doing this right? I've never had any experience um, hosting or organizing events. I mean, I would always do it here at my house. I love doing that stuff. But other than that, that was really it. And then again, getting the speakers, what are we going to talk about? What topics are really going to be for us? So I really wanted to get people who represented us. Jasmine was one of them that talks about money. That's just a big thing for us parents in order to continue to thrive in this environment. And now, actually, that's something that's not taught in schools, and actually, just a space for us Latinos. I think I don't want to get into something else, but the thing about teaching people how to manage their money is not done right. I just think that it has to be done like I don't think it's done right. I just think how Jasmine, I really believe in what she does. She's also a fellow grantee, so I wanted her to do it. It was just a lot of talks. It was probably that whole day was long, and if next year where it's going to be totally different and shorter. I a lot of the outcome, the turnout was a lot more than what I expected. I had a lot of moms helping me that believe in this. I'm so grateful for them. We gave out a lot of tickets for free because we wanted a lot of people to show up. So these 5 or 6 moms were the ones in charge of giving them away. Their friends or network and giving me the names, and it was really all of them. And people were printing flyers for me. Friends that live in Dundee, Wheaton, far away, and Chicago's huge. So even people were coming from flew in from Virginia, from Texas, from St. Louis, from Arizona. My main speaker was from Arizona, so she had to fly. I flew her in, but it's just amazing. A lot of moms are really into this movement, and it's something that we want to continue. It's basically us moms we're turning it into something from homeschooling to something like, okay, we want to assure that our children get the best education, and we're not going to be the only ones doing it. We're outsourcing some of our things, and we're going to find out who is going to do this for our kids. And unfortunately, my kids are probably going to be they're going to graduate pretty soon. They're not going to take fully advantage of what Latinos homeschooling is going to become. But I mean, there's a ton of children out there that are going to benefit. So we're turning this into something more that we want to ensure that our kids are getting the best education. That's what, and more of a movement that this is bringing. But yeah, the conference was a lot of planning. Even the caterers, that everything from the location to the speakers to everything. It was a lot of work. And I'm barely recovering from last year, and I sometimes feel like I should be happier because it went like this. But um, I don't even think of it like you said. It was such a big event. I honestly didn't even think of it like that. I was glad that it was over. I was happy about the turnout, and when I looked at the pictures, then I saw everything come together, and I was very, 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 very grateful for a lot of the people that believed in me, the sponsors, more than anything, um, that that they showed up and believed in me. They flew in from different parts of the country too to be part of the conference. So I hope that in the years to come they continue to work with me. One exhibitor didn't imagine that it was going to go this well because I've given some outreach events throughout Chicago to encourage other Latino parents to, that they can do this, and the turnout wasn't that great. So honestly, I was happy. I was pleasantly surprised.
That's encouraging because I know it takes a lot of work to put on an event like this, and it is all of the behind the scenes that people don't see. It's all the hard work that goes into it, and people see the outcome, and sometimes it's not until after that we as facilitators get to take a break and read the reviews, talk to the people about how they receive the information. And I just want to encourage you that this is a very much needed thing. And like, I heard great things about this conference. And going back to how you said it's so important to be intentional about the speakers that are presenting. So for example, you mentioned Jasmine Lopez, who gives a money healing workshop, and that is something, when I first heard it, I didn't realize I needed to hear it. Like, you think of money workshop, you think of, okay, you should be doing this and saving this and investing in this and doing this. And yes, that is part of it. But a lot of times, because of who we are as Latinos and our lived experiences and all of the mental blocks that we have to work through, we have to work through that healing journey first in order to like put into practice everything that we quote unquote like should be doing or is accessible to us. And so, like you said, like, it's so important to be intentional with the speakers, and intentional in a way that because they're speaking to predominantly like Latino first generation, second generation people, like we don't have the advantage of having generations upon generations in this country who have had the opportunities to build this country with like the already like money mindset that has been passed down by countless generations before. And so having someone and having speakers who understand that cultural context and understand the things that we as first, second gen are working through is so important. And in creating that safe space to be able to ask questions and talk about these cultural nuances is so important for our growth as parents, so that we can then like pour into our kids as well, and teach them like the best that we can to be able to lay that strong foundation for them. A lot of times homeschooling, you think like, oh, I need to do math, science, like all of these, and it's a checklist, but it's a lot of inner work too, as parents, to understand the reasons why we're doing this, understand the mental barriers that might come up when we are homeschooling. And I think creating spaces like this and doing workshops is a good way to keep that community growing and talking about these things. Because I do believe in communal healing. Like, there is such a benefit to being able to be around other people and hearing their lived experiences, hearing their challenges, like you mentioned, and being able to talk about yours and learning from each other. So I know it's hard work, but keep going and keep surrounding yourself with people who believe in the vision and are wanting to see it succeed. So it's exciting to hear that you're already like, okay, for next year, we're going to do this differently. And even for this next quarter, and as we end the year, virtual workshops coming up. Is there anything that you're excited about as far as like what is coming up for the community for the rest of the year?
Yeah, I am. We just finished a 2-day event. It was virtual for middle and high school families. We did the first kind of like a virtual conference for them. It was last Thursday, and we had speakers for the children, like middle and high school. One of them was one of the speakers. There were several on entrepreneurship, on there was one was talking about leadership, and one gave a class about elections, like how you should vote, since we are in a season year. And then the other one, we had a really workshop with A&E, the A&E network. So Latinos that work in A&E were giving a workshop to the children on how to get into what jobs are offered, like in a channel like A&E, whether it be behind the scenes. It was really cool because the children got to see the behind the scenes, why certain things are created, and even there was an accountant there. I mean, you can work doing that, and being an accountant, like for example, if one she gave us an example of like when things like old channels get when they keep on replaying them, and how much of that share the actor's supposed to make. I mean, it was just a really great workshop on that person explaining how that works and how she got into it, and not really just to look at everything, how what careers you can have. So I wanted that workshop to get done because we as Latinos, were a lot of us are told about healthcare, about business, engineering, those like and trades. I mean, those are all great jobs if you want to do that. But what about if somebody's really creative? There's a lot of creative people out there that they should be making a living, working on their art and supporting a family. So so I want to have different people like that. There was a writer that gave a workshop. He wrote a book, and did give the reality of it. He's still working a 9 to 5 job, but he is working on his book. It's published. It's on Amazon, and then there's and the reason why he wrote the book. He's a Guatemalan American, and then it was a really really good workshop to begin. Even we probably had like 10 people show up, and sometimes I don't care about the number of people. I just have to keep doing this, and I encourage a lot. I mean, you're an entrepreneur. A lot of us, it's not always, yay, I created this space. Everybody's so excited about it, but you have to keep going, even though there's these moments of discouragement where you don't get a lot of people signing up for this. But I had all of these great speakers lined up who agreed to do this. I'm like, I'm going to continue. I'm not going to cancel anything. And anyway, I'm recording all of the content, so it's going to be available for later on, whoever wants to learn from these workshops. Next month, we're going to have another one for the youth, and it's a coach from the Oakland A's. It's a female coach, and she's going to talk about leadership and careers in sports. So I want to continue to have these great speakers that are in different industries, mainly a career workshops, and also having some people that can teach the kids something. So coming October, hopefully, well, we're going to have our first one in October. We're going to have workshops for parents. We're going to have one how to teach math to children and how not to run away from it and how to embrace it, because a lot of us, whether you're Latino or not, we kind of say, a lot of us say we're not good in math and that's just it. We're not going to continue it. But yet it's a misconception, and how to break away and different ways to teach math. So that's going to be in October. So there's going to be a lot of great things coming along virtually. This is the first step. So yeah, I'm going to keep on trying to build these great partnerships with these great organizations to do this. So because I want greatness for our children.
Oh, I love to hear it. And yes, math is a touchy subject. And I'm so glad that you're providing that resource. I will definitely be sharing and hopefully get the word out for that and all the events that you have coming up, all the workshops. What advice would you give to a parent who is just navigating this homeschool space?
I would tell them to take it easy, because we get a lot of parents that they have 3-year-olds or 4 kindergarteners that are saying, what curriculum should I buy? And there are curriculums out there for those ages where you could spend $200 to $300, even more. However, you really don't need to do that, and just to take it easy, get to know your child, play with them a lot, give them a lot of great experiences that are very unique to your family and what you want to do. That's the great thing about homeschooling. It's you're going to be able to teach your child and pass values to them that a lot of people can or won't. And you're not going to be their only educator either, whether they're in sports, they're going to learn from coaches, whether they're going to be taking an art class. um I there's a family that I know, they're not Latino, but they homeschool too. They're friends of mine, and I mean, they their family decided to do it. Their daughter is going to be Elsa in Frozen musical here in Chicago. So they have to navigate that whatever their auditions, and which they already did, but all of these things that they have to do. It just gives you great flexibility, even if you're not doing that. Not all of us are raising actors or Olympic stars, but and it's not always perfect, but just really just make it unique to whatever you want to teach your kids, besides math and science and everything. If you're pulling your child out, if they're already been in school and they're telling you, I want to homeschool, take it easy too. They're not going to fall behind. Maybe relax a few months, get to know them, start giving them a few things here and there to do, have them get to know who they are. Because in school they were told, this is what you're supposed to do, this is what you're supposed to be. And it's not all negative, but if they want to leave school, it's for some reason. Have them get to know who they are, and get to know the relationship that you're going to be in. And if your child wants to go back to school, it's okay. It's not for everybody. It's you can have structure in a homeschool environment, very structured with scheduling, and or you cannot. Some kids like to be told what to do from other people, and they like that schedule, and that's okay. There's no right or wrong way to do your education journey. Just always be involved in their education, find out what they're teaching them and why. Not to be some annoying parent, but just kind of be on top of things, even if they're in school. That's what I have to say.
Oh, that is great advice. And that's the advice that I also share with people. Like, the most important thing is getting to know your child and building that foundation, that relational foundation with them. And that's going to be the foundation to their academics. And a lot of people think about it as the opposite and say, like, oh, we need to focus on academics, and then like academics is the priority, and then all of the other relational stuff. And I'm like, no, we gotta like understand our kid and help them thrive in the way that is best for them. So I love that advice. It's great advice. Where can people find you and connect with you, and what's the best way to like get plugged into your community?
Well, you could follow us on Instagram, Latinos Homeschooling, or YouTube. We have some talks published on YouTube, some interviews from other moms, and other. Some of them aren't Latino, but they're people that I've met during this journey. Other entrepreneurs that have successfully homeschooled their child, and yeah, there's a wealth of, there's 15 videos, and I'm looking at it right now on my channel. Also our website, LatinosHomeschooling.org. You can send me a message there, and I will look at it. You can message me through Instagram as well, or you can join our group on Facebook. It's getting really big. It's over 3,000 members, and it's making it more difficult to connect with everybody there. So we're figuring out how we're going to do this, how we're going to probably move it from Facebook to another platform. So just stay tuned for all of those changes, but just our website is good. We're also going to start offering classes the beginning of October in a Latino art history. So I'm collaborating with an artist this art historian from New York City who actually has worked at like El Museo del Barrio in Harlem, the Jewish Museum, the Met as well, in New York City. And she's passionate about Latino art. She's Puerto Rican herself. And, just really educating our children that it's not only European art like Monet that we're supposed to find out, or Dali, who's from Spain, but there's a lot of good artists in our countries in Latin America. So yeah, just look us up on those two, really, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, our website. It's all there. Our website has blog posts from different moms, that including some from Mexico too. There's a growing movement in Mexico. Our blog has a lot of stories about moms, different, why they're homeschooling. There's a family there that they go to Guatemala, they're in California, and how how that journey has been. And then there's another mom from the Bay Area that I think her and her siblings all homeschool. These are all cousins learning together. There's just a lot of really cool stories there. So take a look. There's a lot of that you can learn from other families, other Latino families.
Awesome. Yes, and I will link all of that on our website and in the show notes. So thank you so much for your time. This has been a great conversation. I'm so excited to bring more awareness to this organization that you're building, and I can't wait to see how it grows over the next year. I am always down to support and to share, and I hope that maybe we can collaborate in the future.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, and I appreciate your time and you sharing your story, and I hope people connect with you and find encouragement in their homeschooling journey, or just understanding what opportunities are out there and communities are out there. So we will talk soon.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Okay, amigos, thank you so much for listening. There will be a new episode every Tuesday, so after you listen, feel free to take a screenshot to post on Instagram and tag @elevatinglacultura, or send me a DM. You can also comment on our YouTube video if you're watching online. I always like to hear from people and how they resonate with the stories that I share. So leave a review on Apple Podcasts so we can get more ears listening to these stories and we can continue elevating la cultura. All right, enjoy the rest of your day, afternoon, evening, whenever you're listening, y nos vemos next week. Bye.